Hello everyone and welcome back to the Rines Report. This is Tristan Rines here with Geoff White in the studio for the final show on Radio Free Radford.com. We're broadcasting live to Facebook. This is a big moment for me, man. You sad? We got one more show. I'm trying to get my notes up. So we're starting things off just like student media, just getting things going, and we're waiting for things to process, but we're going to go.
All right.
I don't know, it's just I'm improvising at the moment. I'm doing horrible. I'm a student still. Now, there's plenty to talk about today, but 3.5 years I've been popping in the studio, doing sports radio, 2 years as a leader, and I've had a number of really good guests or co-hosts that have come on. Geoff's been on the show before as well. We were going to have Terrence on today. He has an internship going on or something like that. He hit me up the last minute. Yeah, good for him. We will be missing him. He's going to graduate as well. Shiza Manzoor was also in the show at one point. Sam Montana. We had the Sam Montana. Oh my goodness, my computer does not like me. This is why you don't update to Windows 10 before you go on a show.
Right?
Dang Windows. All right. Oh, we're working. We're working. Come on, notes. But yeah, we're on Facebook Live. Check us out. Follow Radio Free Radford on social media, by the way. At Twitter on Radio Free Raddy, Instagram or Facebook, RadioFreeRadford.com. Also, here we go. Come on. Work. We're almost there. 99% of the way there. Okay, here we go. Okay. Here we go. This is the Rines Report on RadioFreeRadford.com. I'm joined by Geoff White here in the studio. 8 days away from graduation. Next week's finals week, so the crunch time is on right now. Would you say so?
Absolutely. Yes.
How are the students feeling around the office right now? Are they tense? Are they a little worried? Is there?
Yes, there's tenseness. Is that a word? There's
sure.
Worry. There's optimism too.
Yeah.
There's also some pessimism and some.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Feelings of impending doom.
Oh, I definitely know what you're talking about on that one.
Yeah, but it's that time of year. And we don't have the office. Well, students are free to come into the office next week, but the office isn't open for office hours. We're not open to the public next week. So next week, I'm hoping that I'll see a lot of students in the office, but they'll be hunkered down,
typing away, working on homework. You got projects that are supposed to be due, or
exactly.
It's finals week. It's that crunch, man. Yeah. And dude, I'm kind of ready to graduate. I'm not ready to be an adult yet. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's like I pay bills and do all sorts of stuff, but real world, I don't know what I'm gonna do with all this time that I usually am in class. Besides working and I'll be fortunately enough, I have a job lined up in my field. I'll be doing some radio stuff in the area.
Yeah, congratulations.
So, thank you very much. I'll also be doing some work for the Postal Service after some training, and I don't know, this isn't a bad area to start off in, but I'm just really nervous to see what I'm gonna do with all the extra time that I have. I should probably start getting back in the gym. My freshman 15 got back to me a little bit late. Yeah. But I'm going to extend gratitude to my former co-hosts and some amazing guests. So Austin White was one of the first guests I ever had on the program back when we were on, what street was it, Calhoun? On Dark Side? We were
on Dark Side.
Yeah. I think it was Calhoun
Davis
Street. Davis Street, that's right.
Yeah.
Back on Davis Street. First ever guest I had on, Austin White. He was a fellow classmate of mine at the time. Nicholas Penninger. Ray Amato, Benjamin Dubuque, Sam Montana, Donovan Vadalana, Shiza, Jesse Taylor was also on it once or twice, and Geoff White, veteran guest of the show for the last couple of years. He's been on a few times if you're lucky enough to catch him, if I'm lucky enough to catch this guy. But we got some topics to cover today. We can't just sit here and reminisce the entire time, so let's talk about who's on the bubble going into this next season, NFL-wise. I got a few names. I got mostly quarterbacks. That's how things typically work in the NFL. Is it's a quarterback-centered league, so we're going to start off with our quarterbacks. I got a couple other I have one other position player, some coaches, and a GM. All right, so number one on the bubble is Derek Carr, quarterback of the Raiders.
And Mr. Eyeliner himself.
Well, dude, the only reason why I throw him on here is that he has to produce with Antonio Brown, Josh Jacobs, their first-round draft pick, Tyrell Williams, or Gruden will probably trade him to go get another quarterback because, if it doesn't work for 20 minutes, then I don't know, man, he's pop on out of here.
I don't know.
They paying him a ton of money.
They are.
But knowing Gruden,
well, Well,
I wouldn't be surprised if they're just like, you know what, this Carr thing, he seemed all right when we got here, and then I have no idea why he sucks now. It's like, maybe it's because of you, John.
Well, that's the thing is about Gruden. Flip a coin. I think he's so unpredictable. He's like Mike Milbury. If Carr is awesome, he might trade him. If he's not awesome, he might trade him. I'm sorry about that.
You're fine.
My phone on.
Dude,
silent.
You're fine.
Violating my own radio etiquette. Jeez. And how many times have I produced a show where I've been like, turn your cell phone off?
Yeah.
Yeah, or at least turn off the sound.
It gets back to us sometimes. I mean, if that didn't happen, I wouldn't have turned off my volume. I forgot too.
But I don't know. You just can't.
I think but that's the thing is like I think because of the unpredictability, that's why Derek Carr is on the bubble, so to speak, and also because you're adding all these weapons around him. The offensive line isn't that bad. The defense is going to get better. They got Clelin Ferrell, who was very much a reach at that pick, but they got some pass rush. They got some players around him. I think the Raiders are going to be better this year. I'm not expecting them to take like monumental leaps into the playoffs or anything, but I think they at least aren't like number 4 in the draft pick next year. You know what I mean? So I think mostly Derek Carr has some pressure because John Gruden's so unpredictable, and they could be looking at quarterbacks. I know that a lot of mock drafts have them taking Justin Herbert out of Oregon in the same position. Jameis Winston, quarterback of the Buccaneers. And I throw him on here for a couple reasons. He's an okay quarterback. I wouldn't say there's any point that I've seen Jameis wow me except for like one play against the Bears. Not quite the leader Tampa Bay seems to want. Not a ton of progressions as far as his career's gone. They haven't been to the playoffs. They haven't really had any 10-win seasons under Jameis Winston. But now you give him Bruce Arians, who seems to be this quarterback wizard. He coached guys like Carson Palmer into being an NFL MVP candidate, Ben Roethlisberger, Andrew Luck. So he's got some experience with good quarterbacks. He's got experience coaching guys into their best potential. If Jameis Winston can't produce with Bruce Arians, I will full-heartedly expect Jameis Winston to no longer be a Buccaneer come next season. And it just seems like solid rationale. They've got good weapons around them. The defense isn't half bad. The offense, you got Mike Evans. They had Deshaun Jackson for a short time there, but their offense it's not depleted. There's stuff to work with there. Andy Dalton of the Bengals. The most forgettable organization in football. All right? The Cincinnati Bengals. They got a new head coach, a little more offensive. Marvin Lewis is finally out of there, so the pressure now falls on the actual, besides just the new head coach, the pressure falls on the personnel, the players, to say, okay, look, we finally got the change we wanted. Now let's finally do something about it. So you got a new head coach. The offense around him is solid. You got John Ross. You got AJ Green. The running back situation. You got Joe Mixon. The offensive line got better with Jonah Williams at the left side. Right. The defense is okay. It's time for them to take the next step. And by the next step, I mean not only just make the playoffs, maybe win a game. So I don't know. Andy Dalton's okay. I would say Andy Dalton isn't. I wouldn't say he's elite. You know what I mean? Like, he's one of those guys that at his best is, like, around the middle of the road, but at his worst is definitely, like, bottom 20. Yes. Or, excuse me, bottom 10.
Watching Andy Dalton play, it's one of those things where it's like, I wouldn't be surprised if they win, but I sure wouldn't be surprised if they lost. And because of Andy Dalton and some of the things he does. Mm-hmm.
I mean, Dalton has all the potential, or he had all the potential in the world, and he's had games where he wows you. But I attribute a lot of his success, unfortunately, because A.J. Green's just that good. All right, A.J. Green, if he had a better quarterback, like let's say he ends up... We always wish and hope we get the next Randy Moss walking into New England for Tom Brady. Yeah. But imagine A.J. Green getting throwing passes from Tom Brady. Yeah. I'm just saying, it's good chemistry. David Johnson, halfback of the Cardinals. Couple of years removed from his breakout season... Kyler Murray needs him to be healthy. All right, he had a wrist injury last year, and I'm not saying David Johnson isn't that good. I mean, he's pretty good, but I wouldn't be surprised if he has a bad year. The Cardinals just say, hey, maybe he just had a blip year. He was really good once, but these things happen. David Johnson, I like him a lot in Arizona, but Kyler Murray definitely needs him to be healthy. The offense is going to get better. They got Hakeem Butler, who was one of my favorite receivers coming out of the draft just because he's so lengthy. They still have Larry Fitzgerald. The offensive line can't be that much worse. They got Andy Isabella, who is essentially... I'm trying to think of the best way to describe him. He's like Danny Amendola, but faster. Coming out of UMass, so I'm just saying the Cardinals' offense will be better overall. Cliff Kingsbury just has to figure out how to make it all mesh and work together. The defense is still going to be good. I wouldn't expect them to have a huge drop-off. I think losing... they didn't even really lose anybody big. I know they're not picking up Robert Nkemdiche, I think is how you say his name. Kendichi or whatever. He's got a weird last name. I know they're not picking up his fifth-year option, but the Cardinals will still be solid. I think that Kyler Murray has the potential to be like a Rookie of the Year kind of deal, but it really has to mesh perfectly for this all to work. Coaches. I got 2 coaches, all right? And you might chuckle just because I made this list with the intention that Terrence was going to be here, so I like messing with him for some of these things, but I got Jason Garrett on my list. And Jason Garrett at one point was talked about as being the guy, like, oh yeah, they're going to give him a contract extension. I know Cowboys fans are so ready to have Jason Garrett no longer as the head coach because he's okay, but he doesn't really give them that next edge. What he needs to do this year is put Dallas over the edge.
Yes.
They've got a good squad. The defense is probably going to be a top 10 defense. I mean, Dak Prescott's going to give you the best he possibly can. He's not throwing 250-plus every game, but their rushing attack's going to be solid. Their receiving core is pretty good. They went out and got... Who did they get? They have Amari Cooper. They went out and got Randall Cobb. They got some veteran leadership out there. Their offensive line's probably going to be just about stable. You need to put... Dallas needs to get over the edge. They finally won a playoff game. Congratulations to them. Yeah. They beat the Seahawks barely, and then they lost to the Rams, eventual NFC champions.
As a closet Cowboys fan, I
really?
know my dad's not listening.
You're a closet guy. I've never heard this one from you.
Yeah, actually, and it's because of Dak Prescott. And
really?
I'm seeing the Cowboys sort of... They're slowly putting everything together, and I'll agree with you that it's the time to make hay now.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine their squad's going to get any better.
No.
Not at least not with what's available. I mean, the best thing they could probably do right now is go out and get Ndamukong Suh. You know what I mean? And I'm surprised that he's still on the market, but if you go out and get Ndamukong Suh, your front seven's set.
Oh, man.
I mean, they got Leighton Vander Esch, Jalen Smith. They got a really good front seven. Their secondary could still use a little bit of work, but their defense overall is probably going to be a top 10. And they just went out and paid DeMarcus Lawrence more money than I think he's worth, but they went out and paid him. Dallas, this is the time to strike.
Yes,
while the iron's hot right now, because Dak Prescott's still under a rookie contract, getting paid nothing. So while you have all the talent on the roster, make it happen.
And this is the time also when a quarterback or any player who is playing for the contract is going to play at their best. So now's the time to do it. Because it happens too often when a star finally gets their payday and they just coast.
Yeah. That happens a lot, though. I mean, but the NFL is a business at the end of the day. I mean, once you finally get that contract, it's like, hey, I want to stay healthy, so I might not feel as inclined to like push for that extra yard because I'm afraid I'm gonna like break my like leg or something, or like, oh, I don't feel quite as inclined to dive into the end zone or something. Sure. So this is the year to do it. Another head coach I have on the hot seat that I don't feel is getting quite enough attention, and I feel like he does. Mike Zimmer, head coach of the Vikings. Now, they went out and they paid Kirk Cousins. They've got a top 10 defense based on personnel alone. Their offense, you got a couple really good receivers. Your backfield's got some really good, it's a good, what's the word I'm trying to think of? Committee backfield. They got Dalvin Cook. They had Latavius Murray. I think he was there for at least a short time. Their backfield isn't going to be that bad. Their offensive line is pretty solid. So why can't the Vikings seem to get past 8-7-1? Why couldn't they get past 8-7-1 last year? Basically an 8-8. If you want to look at it positively, but yeah.
How long has Zimmer been with the organization?
I think he's been there for at least 5 years.
Yeah.
They went to the NFC Championship a couple years ago, but outside of that, I mean, you went out and got Kirk Cousins for a reason, and you think this is the guy that's going to put you over the edge, put you over the top, but I'm just saying you have to make that work.
I don't think Kirk Cousins, by the way, is the guy that's going to make that happen.
No. I don't think Kirk Cousins is quite that guy. I don't think he's like a Super Bowl caliber quarterback right now, but you went out and invested $84 million in him one way or the other. He's going to get that money, so you need to make something work.
The question, the reason I asked how long Zimmer's been with the organization is Minnesota the kind of organization that's going to fire him if they are only meh or so-so?
Do I think they would? Maybe. Let's see. He's been the head coach since 2014. Yeah, so this will be his 5th year. Yeah. Do I think they will? Probably not. I think that they should consider things though, because if this guy's not going to get you any further than an 8-8 with this, if you just looking on paper, man, this is a really talented squad. Their defense is really good all the way across the board, and nowadays, if you have a really good defense, that can propel you deep into the playoffs. You have to have a good defense to get far.
I just don't see Kirk Cousins being the guy to help Mike Zimmer along the way, though. That is way too much to put on a quarterback of his ability.
I don't know, man. I feel like Mike Zimmer has to help push and make that next step, though. Is Kirk Cousins. I think here's the thing with Cousins. I don't think he's bad by any measure. I would say he's about middle of the road, but we've seen what they could do with guys that are less talented.
Yes.
That's basically what I'm getting at.
Okay.
I mean, we've seen that Case Keenum had one really marvelous season and went out and got paid, and now he's about where I thought he always was.
Yeah.
Bottom of the league.
Yeah.
I remember saying that after that year, too. And then Sam was my co-host, and he looks at me with the craziest looking at. He's like, how is this guy number 30 or 31 on your list? And I'm like, he's not that good. He has really good receivers, not that good. And it ended up being exactly what I thought he was going to be. And finally, the one general manager I have on this list, Dave Gettleman from the New York Giants. All right?
Right.
He has made a lot of questionable decisions, to say the least. Fans are pretty much not happy. Every Facebook group or every comment section that I see involving the New York Giants is, we want Gettleman gone. Fans aren't happy so far. Ownership could say enough if whatever Gettleman's plan doesn't work. I mean, Daniel Jones is not worth the 6th overall pick. He's just not. All right? No one was stretching to go get him except for the New York Giants. All right? Let's just be completely honest here.
Yeah.
You could have gotten that man probably. You could have waited maybe and gotten him in the 2nd round. I don't understand the move. Trading Odell Beckham, trading Olivier Vernon, and they got some quality back, I guess. They got some good picks, but they didn't really utilize them that well. And that's the disappointing thing. The best pick they had this year in the draft to me was Dexter Lawrence. I liked him at 17 coming out of Clemson. The kid's a beast. You could have gotten DeAndre Baker. You could have gotten Daniel Jones in the 2nd round. Probably the worst, if not one of the worst drafts this year.
It'll come back to that question again, and it's even more so for GMs than it is for coaches. Are the Giants the kind of organization that are going to fire him? Or are they going to
absolutely.
stick it out?
I think the Giants would absolutely fire him after 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
I think this is his 3rd year. If this doesn't seem to cobble together the way that they think it's supposed to, which, I mean, projecting, I don't think it will. I think he's gone. The Giants are a big market team. They do not seem to have a large amount of patience with this kind of deal.
Okay.
I mean, they went through Jerry Reese, but Jerry Reese at least was a part of 2 Super Bowl wins. You know what I mean? And now you got Dave Gettleman, and it doesn't seem to be working so far.
No.
You went out and you paid your wide receiver the most money in NFL history at that position on a per year basis at least, and then you trade him 1 year later. It's like, what kind of investment are you making? It's like 1 year. It's on one hand. It's like one hand you're telling me that you're gonna be the guy. You know, like, oh, let's get married. You know, we got married, and then a year later, it's like, things. I don't know. The girl over there is kind of, I don't know, maybe she's kind of cute, and I don't know. But that's kind of the indecisive decision making I feel is going on in New York right now.
And then on the same side, they are committed for some reason to Eli Manning. They are.
This better be his last season. I think Eli should have been gone 5 years ago.
I don't know about 5 years
4 years ago.
But yeah, I just don't get it. I really don't get it. It's very imbalanced. On one side, it's this Odell Beckham, and they're like, you're the best thing. We're going to pay you this record contract, and then the next year, it's she's kind of cute, like you said.
Yeah.
And yet Eli is. They are manacled him for some reason.
Eli's sticking around because if I was going to get paid $25 million to throw 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 interceptions a season and still be like, hey, we kind of want you, dude. I was like, what are you seeing here?
Are they afraid of being the Colts?
I think they're afraid of winning. Are they afraid of being the Colts? Dude, the Colts took Peyton Manning and was like, hey, we appreciate everything you've done here. We're going to let you go because we know that we're going to get this guy who's going to change the franchise. Mm-hmm. Andrew Luck seems to still kind of be that guy. Mm-hmm. Let's not forget, Peyton Manning only won a Super Bowl with the Colts, okay? Yeah. So we're going to compare things. I mean, I'm just saying Andrew Luck still has plenty of time to do that for them.
Yes.
And he's, to me, one of the top 10 quarterbacks in football. He's a great quarterback.
Absolutely, he is.
So they didn't quite like drop off value-wise. They just updated to the game that's being played now.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. We're going to take a break real quick, about 30 or so seconds. We're going to come back with some way too early award predictions for the NFL season. Just some projections, some personal thoughts. Also, an award that doesn't really exist, but, you know, maybe it will. 30 seconds.
We're back, and better than ever. Radio Free Radford.
Ready? Realize what I'm about to say.
Come on! Go! Playing what you want to hear. RFR.
I'm Ellie Golding.
Hey everybody, this is Natalie Laro.
Hey, what's up? It's Brianna.
What up, y'all? This is Jeremiah.
Radford's new choice of music. RadioFreeRadford.com.
Welcome back into the Radio Free Radford Studio. Tristan here. My co-host today is Geoff White.
Yo.
That's right. And Geoff, we're going to talk a little bit about early award predictions. We also want to talk about RFR social media. Okay, so Twitter at Radio Free Raddy, Instagram and Facebook, look them up, RadioFreeRadford.com. This is the last show for 3.5 years. A lot of work's been put into this. Kinda.
You have worked hard at this.
I suppose so. I've just been talking about things I'm interested in. So, you wanted to quickly mention though things that just don't even hit my radar. You wanted to mention the NHL playoffs. Can you give us a quick rundown on what's been going on? Give us a quick update.
Yeah, I'll tell you, this has been the hardest NHL playoffs I've ever handicapped.
Yeah.
Going into the playoffs, I looked at the 16 teams and I was like, I do not know. I looked at Tampa Bay, who ran away with the President's Trophy.
That's right.
The best team in the
and then they got swept in the first round.
And they got not only swept, but I mean
embarrassed.
They got embarrassed. And of course, a sweep is embarrassing, but you had the number 1 seed in the NHL losing to an 8 seed, and they got spanked every game. I've seen close sweeps. Like there was a series Montreal played in 1993 where every game was 4-3. They just happened to win, and 3 of those games were overtime, 4-3. So that was a very close series that just happened to be a sweep. This was not close. They just got spanked. And
they spent all that time and energy winning all those regular season games and forgot that, oh yeah, by the way, the Stanley Cup playoff exists.
Yeah, exactly. And then you have the Predators losing to the Stars. You have the Jets, the Winnipeg Jets losing. And the Capitals, the defending Stanley Cup champions, losing. So this second round is really interesting, and right now it's flip a coin for who could win. The Stars and the Blues are tied 2-2. The Sharks and the Avalanche are tied 2-2. The Bruins and the Blue Jackets, the Blue Jackets who swept the favorites, the Lightning, they're tied 2-2. And then you have the Carolina Hurricanes, who don't know any better, who are up 3-0 against the Islanders. So who knows where this could go. It's a very interesting playoffs to watch.
Well, here, at the end of the show, we're going to do some NBA playoff pretty similarly. So I want you to take a look at all those series and tell me all the way through the Stanley Cup who you think is going to take it all.
I do.
It's
not
hard to
know.
pick, but if you had to pick. I'm putting you on the spot here, Geoff.
Okay. I think the Stars are going to beat the Blues.
Okay.
And the Stars are going to play the Sharks in the Stanley Cup, the Western Conference Final.
Okay.
And I think this is finally the year when the Sharks get to the Stanley. Well, I think they have been to the final before, but I think the Sharks are going to get to the final through the Stars. In the East, I still think the Blue Jackets are going to beat the Bruins.
Okay.
I think they're good enough, and Tortorella is just snarky and feisty enough. And, of course, I think the Hurricanes are going to beat the Islanders. I think the Hurricanes are going to actually get all the way to the Cup final against the Sharks. And you've got people still on the Hurricanes. Justin Williams. I'm not a fan of Justin Williams. He's an eye gouger. He practically ended Seko Koivu's career. But I think the Hurricanes have the experience in the organization that.
Oh, hey, thanks for watching, Jack. Nice to see you popping up on the stream.
But yeah, I think the Hurricanes are going to beat the Sharks, and poor Joe Thornton is going to go another year without winning the Cup. I'd love to see Jumbo Joe win the Stanley Cup with the Sharks.
So you got the Sharks and the Hurricanes, and you got who you got winning again?
The Hurricanes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not a bad pick. We're gonna quote it here. Remember, we're gonna at the end of the Stanley Cup final. We'll see what happens. Yeah. Obviously, it's really tight right now. I mean, the Hurricanes seem like they're gonna make their way through. But,
teams don't.
But everybody else, might as well be a coin flip. So, but we're gonna quote Geoff on that, and then in about a month or so, we'll probably get back to it. Right, about a month from now, as we'll probably know.
Yeah, in early June, we're gonna be in the Stanley Cup finals.
Okay. Yeah. So we'll have to come back and and see how those predictions worked out for you. And now. Now, there's one person that I decided to make up for the sake of the segment, which is the most improved player. All right, I wanted to start off with that.
Award,
why?
I always had an issue with the most improved player award, especially in high school. It was like,
well, I know it exists in the NBA in its own way, so that's why I was like, it's kind of weird to me that they don't quite have one for the NFL.
Well, it's kind of like you don't suck quite as much as you used to award. I think that's what that can be interpreted.
Well, no, here's an example. Like this year, it looks like it's going to be D'Angelo Russell. And D'Angelo Russell went from being a pretty average kind of point guard, nothing special, to this year leading the Brooklyn Nets to the NBA playoff and actually beating the 76ers in the game. So, I don't know, man. I really like D'Lo. I'm personally becoming a fan no matter what whatever you want to say about the guy. I'm being a fan of D'Angelo Russell. But I think that the NFL can at least have something along that line. So, for me, my most improved player, my prediction would be Sam Darnold for the Jets. Because they're putting the right pieces around him, okay?
Except for the right uniform.
Except for the right uniform. Those are atrocious, by the way. And the Jets should feel bad. I don't like them. I really just don't. Like, I think the black ones look smooth, but, like, I don't like the new look. It just looks like they're really trying to sell jerseys. But the team's getting better. I really loved the pick with Quinnen Williams right at 3 for the Jets. He's going to be an interior monster. Tom Brady, I'm really scared for him. He's going to have Ed Oliver and Quinnen Williams coming through, trying to get to him in the interior. They also got, what's his name? The dude who went to Miami. They got another Clemson interior rusher, basically. I can't remember off the top of my head. But anyway, I think most improved player is probably going to be Sam Darnold. They're putting some good pieces around him. I wouldn't be surprised if they win a few more games this season. Defensive Rookie of the Year, I think I don't understand how he fell in the draft. Josh Allen, the Jaguars. Because the kid can pass rush on a team that's already full of ridiculous and really talented guys. They got Calais Campbell. They've got Taven Bryan, Marcel Darius, Yannick Ngakoue, all in the front four. And then on the other side of the ball, you're going to have Telvin Smith, Miles Jack, and then you throw Josh Allen on the other side of that. You're sending a 5-man pass rush every play. You're going to get to the quarterback at least 20% of the time. They're all really talented. Offensive Rookie of the Year, Washington Redskins quarterback Dwayne Haskins. I think him falling to the Redskins is going to be really good for him, honestly. It gives him a little bit more drive. He's going to be playing for his hometown team. He did grow up right outside of D.C. I like Dwayne Haskins in their offense. Gruden's going to have some ideas on how to work with him. I know they've gone through quarterbacks a lot recently, but this is going to be their shining light for the season, at least, considering that they almost went to the playoffs until Alex Smith and Colt McCoy both unfortunately had some devastating injuries. I think the Redskins are going to be one of those sleeper teams that could very well sneak into the playoffs this year with Dwayne Haskins. Comeback Player of the Year. We both love this kid, and it was so sad to see him go down with an ACL last season. Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah.
I got Jimmy Garoppolo taking the Comeback Player of the Year, coming off an ACL and from week 2, man. I remember because he had such a really good year. He had such a good year the year before that. I like Jimmy a lot. I think they've added some more. They keep adding weapons to this team, and they just need to stay healthy. That's all I'm asking for the 49ers, man. Just stay healthy. The 49ers are going to be something special coming out of the NFC West. I could very well see them making a playoff push. I don't know if they quite make it. Their division's really challenging. They got the Rams. They got Kyler Murray just coming into the fold with the Cardinals. They're not quite a playoff team. The NFC West as a division is going to be something to watch this year.
Yes.
Offensive Player of the Year, Alvin Kamara from the Saints. Because now there's no Mark Ingram. There's going to be a lot of focus on Kamara, and I think he's going to take a lot of that pressure. I've seen how this guy trains. It's ridiculous. One of the best receiving backs in football in today's game. You got to be able to catch the football. Alvin Kamara makes you miss. like 50% of the time. I like Alvin Kamara a lot. I would not be surprised if Drew Brees to Alvin Kamara becomes one of the things we don't stop talking about for 17 weeks. And then Defensive Player of the Year, Von Miller. I said this last year, and I'm really waiting for Defensive Player of the Year to go to Von Miller, not because I don't think that he gets enough recognition, because the dude obviously does, but he's never won the Defensive Player of the Year. Crazy enough. He won Super Bowl MVP. I think you throw another jewel in the Infinity Gauntlet, so to speak. If you're Von Miller, you got your Super Bowl ring, you got your so many sacks. Their defense is going to be even better this year. I really like Von Miller going out and getting the Defensive Player of the Year award. And then finally, my way too early prediction for the NFL MVP is going to be Patrick Mahomes.
He does seem to be the golden boy.
Dude, he's so talented. He's so talented, man.
Yes, he is extremely
He's going to be the first $200 million quarterback in the NFL, because the way the salary cap keeps going upward and upward, somebody's going to be like, we can afford this. They're just going to backload the contract like 10 years into the future, and they'll be like, Patrick Mahomes will definitely be worth it. I like Pat Mahomes a lot, man. He's so good. He's the Madden NFL, Madden 20 cover athlete coming into next season. If he throws, like, it's the Madden curse is BS. All right? And let me tell you why. Tom Brady. He won the MVP the year that he was on the Madden cover.
Touche.
I'm just saying. Patrick Mahomes seems outside of logic. He doesn't seem like a real human being as far as what's capable of being done by quarterbacks. He can move outside of the pocket when necessary. He likes to sit in the pocket where you should sit if you're a quarterback. You know, that way you don't take monstrous hits all the time. Through 50 touchdowns, I think the biggest thing that's going to hurt him is the whole Tyreek Hill situation, whether or not he even touches the football field. You know, we're still figuring all that out. Travis Kelce's still going to be there. They don't quite have the threat at running back that they had with Kareem Hunt. So the offense is a little bit, I guess it's taken a few steps backwards. Their defense got better, though. Juan Thornhill out of UVA. We've mentioned him a number of times on the show. They made some good moves as far as their entire defense. They added to the front seven. The offensive line, I think, is getting a little bit better. So the Chiefs will still be good. They'll still be a viable threat. They still got Sammy Watkins, of all players. Don't sleep on him. So Patrick Mahomes, he's just so talented. He's so good. I'm going to call it MVP for Patty Mahomes. We're going to take a 20-second break, and then we'll be right back with some more NFL content. I'm going to tell you why LaShawn McCoy sucks right after this.
Love it. Your new favorite station. You like it, I love it. You like it, I love it. This is your man, Flo Rida. All the hits. The New River Valley's hit station. RFR, Radio Free Radford.
We are back here in the Radio Free Radford Studio, 3.5 years in the making, but I got to tell you one thing. LaShawn McCoy deserves all the hate in the world. He sucks. And the reason why he sucks is you don't spoil Endgame. All right? You do not spoil Avengers Endgame for the general public. You don't do it, okay? It's like, Geoff, so I know you're not a big Marvel MCU fan, okay? I understand that. Like, you've seen a few of them, but it's not your thing.
That's right.
I know you love Star Wars.
Yeah.
So let's say I went out and I saw Star Wars. This was a couple years ago. If you haven't seen, which one is it? Force Awakens.
Jedi.
Let's say Force Awakens. If you haven't seen Force Awakens, spoiler alert, Han dies. If I just walked in and was like, yo, Geoff, can you believe that Han Solo gets killed by Kylo Ren?
Yeah.
You'd be like, I hate you because you just spoiled the movie for me.
I probably would have punched you in the face.
Yeah, and it would have been deserved. LaShawn McCoy, you suck. I'm glad I saw the movie early. McCoy tweeted out a massive spoiler for the film in just the actual tweet itself, and also attached a long video with it, with him and his son reacting to the movie. He had emotions, and he stupidly couldn't just keep them to himself, like everybody else in the world's going to do. Right? Yeah. You suck, LaShawn McCoy. I'm going to keep saying that for the next 5 minutes, okay? Usually I can understand and try to play devil's advocate, but now I hate LaShawn McCoy. And I hate, like... I hope you lose all your Twitter followers, at the very least. I hope that's at least, of all the bad things that I could wish upon people, lose all your Twitter followers.
Well,
you don't deserve them. If you're going to betray the people that follow you and trust you as a player, I guess.
Well, here's the thing. He plays for the Buffalo Bills, so that might be the punishment that he...
Oh, my goodness. He's getting paid pretty well.
That's true. That's true.
I hope he doesn't have to catch too many patches. You know what? No, I hope Josh Allen destroys your gloves at practice by throwing the ball really hard at you.
Fair.
I wouldn't be surprised if Josh Allen just pegs him in the helmet by, like, oh, it was totally an accident, LaShawn.
Yeah.
when he's like in the back of his mind, like, I can't believe you ruined the movie for me. And I'm not gonna spoil it because here's my thing: is I give you at least a few weeks to go see the movie, and even then, I say it in polite company. Have you seen the movie before I start talking about it? I hope when LaShawn McCoy goes to any stadium for the rest of the season, that they have a crowd and a sign in the crowd that says LaShawn McCoy is a walking spoiler, tattooed on your forehead because you can't follow society's rules. You're the worst. I give you 2 weeks to see it at the very least. That's my rules, okay?
Yeah.
The very least. And even then, verbal confirmation. Have you seen it? Have you not? If you're around people you don't know, hey, guys, we're going to be talking about Endgame. Like, just kind of politely. It's like, if you haven't seen it, just raise your hand. That way, like, okay. Cool. Like, that might be the weirdest thing to do, but at least you're considerate, right? Like, people are like, you know what? That guy's nice. I might buy him a coffee if you're like Starbucks. Or if you're at the bar, like, oh, what is he drinking? I'll get him one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because he's considerate. He's not a bad person. But then there's LaShawn McCoy, who's walking around willy-nilly just saying spoilers. Like, I wouldn't trust this man with a playbook.
Yeah, no.
Based on that either.
Right.
Like, he gets the playbook and he walks up to, like, the Jets, like, one of his Jets teammates, like, oh, hey, what's going on, Jamal Adams? Yo, my boy. Yo, dude, listen, we got this really great run package system coming in because he just got Frank Gore, right? Josh Allen, he can't hit anybody from 5 yards past him, right? So we're going to run like 90% this year. And he goes, oh, okay, thanks, appreciate that, LaShawn. And then just walks over and it's like talks to Adam Gase, Mr. Bug Eyes himself.
It does betray a character flaw there and a predilection for giving away secrets. I think that's a great point.
Yeah, that's a great point, Geoff. LaShawn McCoy is not to be trusted at any capacity in life ever. Yeah. I'm sorry, he's just not. All right, I wanted to really rant about that, and I just want to say it one more time before we move on to something else because there's some more fun to talk about this year. I have more things to be excited about. I'm graduating. It's sad, but at the same time, I'm excited. But I felt the need to do a public service to remind people that LaShawn McCoy sucks. I'm glad I saw the movie early. For everybody who hadn't seen it, I feel bad for you. So one more time. We're gonna be back in about 20 seconds. We're gonna talk about the biggest matchups going into the next season. I'm really excited for a lot of these, all right? I'm going to tell you why you should be, too. Right after this, 20 seconds.
Love it. Your new favorite station. You like it, I love it. You like it, I love it. This is your man, Flo Rida. All the hits. The New River Valley's hit station. RFR. Radio Free Radford.
Welcome back into the Radio Free Radford Studio. This is Tristan Blake Rines here for the Rines Report. We are also broadcasting live on Facebook, so if you ain't watching on Facebook, go check us out, man. We will be doing some cosmetic updates to the Facebook page going forward, Oh, I like that. Geoff's joining us here in studio, of course. He had to run out for a second, grab himself maybe a sip of water and also some flashy stuff.
For those who are watching us on Facebook Live, I'm going to do the Steinbrenner thing.
Oh, the ring. That's right, yeah. For the banquet, I got Geoff a Super Bowl ring. I'm glad he loves it.
Thank you for this, by the way.
Oh, you're welcome, man. I mean, if you guys have ever watched the show or seen the pictures from the past, I wear like Super Bowl rings every once in a while. So I thought about it today, and then I was like, you know what? But I got to walk around and do things later. I was like, maybe not today. But they will be worn during graduation, the most obnoxious way ever. So anyway. But no, 3.5 years in the making. This is the final show. We got 20 minutes left, okay? But let's talk about the biggest matchups of the upcoming NFL season, all right? I didn't just pick a bunch of Patriots games. There are some Patriots games on here. There's some Cowboys. There's some Bears. There's all sorts of stuff.
To be fair, they are the defending Super Bowl champions.
They are. They do have some really big primetime matchups. But they are on this objectively, okay? Maybe except for one of these games, actually. So, week 2, Cleveland at the New York Jets are actually the first team I have on here. Let me tell you why. Baker versus Sam Darnold. Both teams got a lot better this offseason. I think it's going to be a good matchup on Monday Night Football. I'll be watching that one because as long as people stay healthy, I mean, it's always the big thing when you're looking at these matchups is making sure guys stay healthy. I really like this matchup, okay, because these are the top 2 quarterbacks from the draft.
And that's week 2?
That's week 2.
Okay. Bills, Jets, you said?
No. Cleveland at the Jets.
Oh, Cleveland at the Jets.
Yes, Monday Night Football. So we're looking at week 2. That's the first one of my. I'm going to go chronologically. So we're going to go week 2 all the way to 17. We're going to move that way. The next one I want to jump to is week 4. Week 4. Do you have any ideas on who it could be?
All right, hold on.
I'm going to give you a quick second.
Stand by.
I'm going to see if you can guess the game.
We're being a little
slow.
A little slow here.
Dang campus Wi-Fi.
I can't say anything. All right, week 4. It's coming up here. All right.
Week 4 is a big matchup from last season. It was a huge upset last year. I wouldn't say huge, but it was definitely an upset of some level of proportion last year. Of two teams that made the playoffs out of the NFC. It's not a Sunday Night Football matchup, not a Monday Night Football matchup, if I'm not mistaken. It's going to be Dallas at New Orleans.
Yeah, I was just looking at that. I was going to pick that, but that is Sunday night.
Is it Sunday Night Football?
That's 8:20.
Oh, wow. It is Sunday Night Football. Perfect.
Cowboys Saints. Yeah, that's
Sorry,
what
I was...
would pick.
My bad. Sunday Night Football, I like that game a lot.
Yeah.
You got two really talented rosters overall. I mean, Drew Brees is the oldest man in that field. That's playing, at least. Yeah. But you got a lot of talent on both of those rosters. I mean, Dallas last year with a big surprise win, a huge upset. What was it? I'm pretty sure it was like Thursday Night Football, and they stomped. They stomped on the New Orleans Saints offense. Mm-hmm. So Dallas's defense, I want to see if they can surprise us again this year. Week 5, another playoff rematch, this time out of the AFC. This one is Sunday Night Football. Can you catch up to me real quick?
Oh, yeah.
You like it? Indianapolis at Kansas City. I think Indianapolis got better offensively. Kansas City got worse. So that's what makes this matchup interesting to me. So Indianapolis, they got Devin Funchess, who's a big target, red zone wide receiver. Eric Ebron played really well with them last year. T.Y. Hilton, of course. Their running game is a running back by committee. Their offensive line is ridiculous. I think defensively they got a little bit better. They got Justin Houston as well from Kansas City, which is a rivalry rematch for him, going and playing back at home against his old team. And then you got Kansas City, Pat Mahomes, man. They beat them last year in the playoffs. I think it's a really interesting matchup. So we're going to jump forward a couple more weeks. Week 7, big game, standing by. I don't think this one is a marquee matchup quite, but I think it's like a 1 o'clock window game.
Okay.
I didn't quite put the time for all of these, so let's see here. Week 7, another premier offense versus the premier defense in the NFL. New Orleans at Chicago.
Oh, yeah.
I really like this matchup. You got Drew Brees versus Khalil Mack. You got Mitch Trubisky versus Cam Jordan. It's some big-time offense versus some big-time defense. I'm not making predictions on these games, okay? Because they're just so far in the future. You don't know who's going to get hurt, if something happens in the practice, OTAs, but I really like that matchup. Week 8, one week jump into the future. This is our first New England game, all right? Cleveland at New England. Cleveland got a lot better over the offseason. I like Baker Mayfield a lot, okay? I don't think it's any secret to anybody. If you even know me personally, we've had football discussions, it somehow comes back to Baker Mayfield. I really like Baker. This is the first time, I think this upcoming year, the Patriots will play 5 different quarterbacks that Tom's never played. So just interesting factoid. This happens to be one of them. Baker versus Tom, it's a big matchup. And me personally, I'm just really curious because Cleveland got a lot better. The Browns always seem to give New England a good game. I mean, remember a few years ago, there was a big comeback Tom had against them, and historically they had a game where they blew the Patriots out.
If this were an away game, yeah, I'd say...
In Cleveland?
But, yeah, it's in New England.
It's the matchup, man. It's Baker versus Tom. That's what makes this interesting to me. All right? Let's see. Week 9, a playoff rematch of This is where the coined phrase from Chris Collinsworth came from. The double doink. Chicago at Philadelphia this time. Yeah. So we're changing settings.
Yeah.
Not going to be in the Midway. We're not going to be in Chicago. Philadelphia is the setting for this matchup. It's going to be loud. It's going to be wild. It's going to be crazy. Yeah. So both teams have some pretty good defenses. This year, quarterback change, though. Carson Wentz is going to be taking the field.
Yeah, I can't wait to see Carson Wentz eat his words because...
Really?
Yeah, because he was saying to, I'm drawing a blank, who was their backup quarterback?
Nick Foles?
Nick Foles. Because after the Eagles won the Super Bowl, Wentz said, "This is me next year." And what happens? But they have to rely on Nick Foles again to lead them where Wentz couldn't. And Wentz is going to be eating his words. He is not going to lead them to the promised land. I don't think he's even going to come close.
Some bold statements by Jeff White. I like it. Week 11 is the next matchup. This is going to be a Super Bowl rematch. All right?
Mm-hmm.
New England at Philadelphia, Week 11.
New England at Philadelphia.
Yeah,
okay.
Super Bowl 52 rematch. Just general marquee of that. It speaks for itself. I'm imagining. I mean, obviously, you know, I'm a Patriots fan. He's a Patriots fan. He has Red Sox hat on. I'm not trying to be as biased as possible. He got a ring on. But this is a Super Bowl matchup. I mean, think about this. Philly, if they have a really good year next season, I wouldn't be surprised if they make it back in the playoffs. You know, they've been a contender for the last couple of years. They won a Super Bowl, man. I mean, all due respect.
Not with Wentz.
Not with Wentz, but they won a Super Bowl. All right, all due respect. Nick Foles went out and did his thing.
Yes, he did.
Unfortunately for Patriots fans.
And the thing is, Nick Foles is such a great human being.
Yeah.
You can't hate him.
I will take one of these games off the list, or else it's just going to be me talking about New England too much. So I'm just trying to be a little more fair. Week 12. I had 2 matchups. I'm only going to put one. The only reason I didn't... the only reason I didn't quite talk about the other one is just because Terrence isn't here. But the Sunday Night Football matchup for Week 12, Seattle at Philly. Mm-hmm. All right, that's 3 straight Philly games. Wilson versus Wentz, 2 good defenses. I consider these teams to be pretty evenly matched, if I do say so myself. So I really like this matchup. Week 14, Kansas City at New England. We talked about this one a little bit prior. AFC rematch. They played last season. The last 2 games these teams have played have been spectacles.
Yes, they have been.
They've been premier football. If you aren't watching that game, Week 14, I don't know what to tell you.
You know what I'd pick that week?
Yeah?
Of course, that's the AFC matchup, but I think the Chargers at the Jaguars.
That'd be a good game, too. That'd be a really good game.
I'm really curious to see which Jaguars team we see next year.
Yeah, I mean, they got Nick Foles out there starting. I think he'll be okay with the Jaguars. I'm not expecting him to be, you know, the most profound thing the Jacksonville Jaguars have ever seen.
Well, I think they're lucky that they found someone to replace Bartles and James.
Blake Bortles?
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. Number 15 on the list, the LA Rams at the Dallas Cowboys. It's a playoff rematch. I like the playoff rematches. There's always a little bit of extra edge, especially later on in the season when guys are fighting for playoff spots. I wouldn't be surprised if Dallas happens to be in a position where they could be battling for playoff spots. Absolutely. The NFC East is always a tough division outside of the Giants. And at least this upcoming season, I don't think the Giants are going to be that good. If they surprise me, I mean, that I'll be pleasantly surprised. I always like watching good football. And then finally, Week 17, just a general rivalry. We understand. Okay, my bad. It got 10 more minutes. Week 17, these are all interdivisional matchups, but it always seems to come down to one of these matchups. Pittsburgh at Baltimore.
Yeah.
It's one of the marquee matchups in the NFL, Week 17. And, you know, there could be a playoff spot in the line. There's always seems to be a playoff spot in the line coming out of the AFC, so, like North in general. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be fun. These two teams like to battle back and forth. I think the biggest question mark here is Lamar Jackson. So, just saying. We're going to take a break. We got 10 more minutes. 10 more minutes. Actually, no. We're not going to take a break because we only have two or so more topics to talk about.
We're going to power through.
Let's power through here. Way too early Super Bowl prediction. The way too early Super Bowl prediction.
Yowza.
Let me check and see how hot it is. Oh, wow, it is pretty hot. Okay. Phone's
phone overheating there?
It's getting a little warm. I'm not going to lie.
All right.
I'm going to unplug it.
Yeah, jeez.
Anyway, way too early Super Bowl prediction. I got 4 possible matchups. I'm not trying to be a homer, man. I just happen to like a team that's good, okay? I really am. Mm-hmm. New England at New Orleans. I had this pick last year. I really saw that one happening, and it almost did. I'm just saying, it almost did. Kansas City versus New Orleans also is on my list. New England versus Chicago. I think Chicago's defense is really going to be good again. And Kansas City and the Rams. Because I think people are going to look at Super Bowl 53. They're going to realize what the Patriots did to stop Geoff, and it's really going to hurt the Rams. So I don't think they're going to be horrible. I think they're going to have a pretty solid season once again. But I can't imagine they're going to be number 1 in the NFC again. I just can't imagine it.
I could see it being the Bears against the Chiefs.
Yeah? Mm-hmm. I think it'd be interesting. If you get top offense versus the top defense, I wouldn't be that shocked. Now, finally, before we do this long send-off thing, because, last show, we'll make it a little lengthy, just because I'm kind of a romantic. But let's do the NBA playoffs, okay? So round 2 right now. Milwaukee versus Boston is a tied series 1-1, all right? These are some games that are happening tonight also. Portland versus Denver 1-1. Houston versus Golden State. Golden State has a 2-0 lead, and Philadelphia and Toronto. Philadelphia took a 2-1 lead in that series. So we got some interesting basketball happening. All right. I want to start predicting some series winners. So I think Boston can beat Milwaukee in 7 games.
Okay.
But it's going to come down to 7 games. It's going to be an uphill battle. It's going to be a challenge. Okay. I'm just being realistic here. I would not be surprised if Milwaukee takes it. Philadelphia in 6. I think Toronto's good, but I think Philly they can match up really well with just about everybody. Denver in 7, and then the Warriors in 5. I think Houston gets at least 1 game in before the series is over, but so far Golden State looks like they're finally sprinting, and when they get going, you cannot stop them. It's just impossible. I think in the finals. So the Eastern Conference Finals are going to be Boston and Philly, and then Golden State and Denver. Golden State's going to take it in 4. All right, let's just be realistic here. And then Philadelphia is going to probably win it in 7, I would say. They're really talented. And then the winner. So that's right. Your finals matchup's going to be Philadelphia and Golden State. Those are my predictions, hard predictions, And then the winner of that, Golden State in 6. I don't think it gets to a 7-game series. I think Philly wins a couple at home, but they don't quite take the series over. I don't think there's going to be any point where the Warriors winning another championship, Steph getting his 4th ring in 5 years is going to be in doubt. I just don't see it.
I have to agree with you on that for sure.
Yeah, the whole way? Or you think Boston actually gets a little bit further than I think?
I think Boston is better than you're giving them credit for.
It's I don't know.
Not much.
I always try to root for Boston, and I think Boston is one of the most talented basketball teams in the NBA right now. Mm-hmm. They just have moments where they can't seem to get out of their own way. Yeah. And it's just unfortunately been part of the season. I think next year they're going to be a little more cohesive. They might lose Kyrie, but I think they'll be an overall more cohesive team, probably an overall better basketball team. Yes. They're going to lose some people in general. Whether or not it's Kyrie, they're going to lose some people. And that's not going to hurt them as much as I think it could. Really talented roster, but guys are always trying to get their shots up in their minutes that they're allotted, and that's what hurts teams. So when you start playing unselfish basketball, that's when you start killing it. Mm-hmm. So I think Boston could take it, and they could go to the finals, but I don't think anybody's getting through Golden State.
Yes.
I mean, come on. It's Kevin Durant. I watched an interview last night. It was after the Clippers series. And they were asking, so Pat and Lou, what could you guys do? What were you guys trying to do to stop Kevin Durant? They both just looked at each other and they're like, dude, we tried. I mean, he's just so good. Like we tried everything. We weren't out there just going, you know what, man, let's let Kevin Durant get 50 points tonight. Like they were like, we tried, man. Like, but that's just a respect to him. Like he's just so good. Like he's almost unstoppable. And there's no way we could game plan. Like no matter what we threw at the guy, he's just unstoppable, man. So I really like Kevin Durant. I think he's one of the best basketball players in the world. I think Kevin Durant's at this point now where he could be beating LeBron James for the best basketball player in the world.
Wow. Okay. Well, I mean, LeBron James did not have the best year.
No, I'm not even saying just the year in general. Like, LeBron had a really good year, too. But I think that I don't think we give Kevin Durant enough props for just being generally like a great basketball player also. Because he happens to play for also the Golden State Warriors. I think LeBron's taken a harder path. But Kevin Durant's up there, man. Like I would say, if it's not LeBron, it's Kevin Durant. Okay. That's just where I'm at right now. So we're gonna close the show. We got 5 minutes left. It's been 3.5 years in the making. 3.5 years and 55 minutes up to this point. I want to thank Geoff for co-hosting with me today. Excuse me. So weird. My notes were reflecting for Darren. I want to thank all the former co-hosts that I've had, and I want to thank obviously Radio Free Radford. All the hosts, all of our fans for making my time as a leader the best of my college experience. Whoever follows me, I hope you leave this organization with as much love and enthusiasm as I have had for these past 2 years. Student media is a great place to be. And if you happen to be a student watching this at some point, or even if you're no longer a student, but I just want to share this with you guys. Like, being a member of student media has been a huge moment and a huge influence in my life, and I'm really happy I was able to help benefit some people's lives, I guess, along the way. We had a few people that decided they wanted to start going into like radio and broadcasting through this. So.
And this is where you start.
Yeah. You got to get involved, man.
Yes.
That's what I always tell people. It's like you can study as much as you want in the classroom, but the best thing you can do is get practice. Absolutely. Practice. And
this is where it happens.
That's right. I'm 3.5 years into doing this, and I'm nowhere near like perfect. I'm nowhere near polished, but I'm a lot better than I was when I started.
For sure.
So this is where it all starts, man. I can almost guarantee you, anybody you ever see out in the professional field, like happens to be a reporter, an analyst, something of that nature, starts in some form of student media.
Yes, absolutely.
And, it's a great experience. You meet a lot of people. You get to, if you're lucky enough to be on Radio Free Radford, you get to tell the stories you want to tell. Mm-hmm. I always like the idea of that. So, and if this wouldn't have started for me, I want to say thank you to Jack Hambley, obviously the leader before me, and the leader before him. Courtney Mendenhall also was where there. Stephanie Brown was leadership as well, but Courtney Mendenhall, the first leader I dealt with, and Austin Martin as well, a couple of people that helped train me up and get me on my way. So wouldn't be here without all of them, and of course Shiza for submitting that application 2 years ago, 2+ years ago. Handwritten application on a fly on a whim. I was like, I guess I can do this, and then ended up happening. So. And
there's going to be people next year and the year after who are going to say, I wouldn't be here. It's because of Tristan. So consider that.
Stop. But yeah, I'm really happy to have served this organization for as long as I was able to, and looking forward to the next chapter. Although I at some capacity, I hope I can just come back and see how things are going, see if things need help a little bit. But, it's after today, it's no longer my organization officially. So it's going to be somebody else's job, man. That's the hard part, is like realizing that it's no longer going to be something that you have like direct contact with, but you realize like, okay, it's part of life. You got to move forward. So I want to thank all of you guys, obviously, the fans. If you're watching on Facebook Live, you're listening on RadioFreeRadford.com right now. Thank you guys so much for an amazing 3.5 years here. I couldn't have had quite as much enthusiasm without having you guys just simply popping in on the live stream or listening on the stream on the website at any point. And with all that being said, and for the final time, thank you all so much. Have a wonderful and safe weekend. This has been Tristan Blake Rines here on the Rines Report on RadioFreeRadford.com. Adios.